Hey guys, Metal Jesus here, and I am in downtown Seattle for the Penny Arcade Expo, also known as PAX West. PAX is very different than the expos I normally attend because instead of having a bunch of retro games, PAX is all about new games, upcoming games. It's very similar to E3 actually, so this is going to be a really cool video. Let's take a look. All right, I'm very excited to be heading into PAX West here in downtown Seattle. Now, this is the 20th anniversary of PAX. I can't believe it. This is such a great expo, and it keeps growing. Actually, last year, they said 120,000 people attended PAX West. That is insane, but I completely believe it based just on trying to get in the door. Look at all these badges. You see that pile of lanyards there? That's crazy, right? I think a lot of people are going to be here this weekend. This is pretty fun. So I got my badge. Let's go do it. And like I said in the intro, the thing I love about PAX is that it's mostly new games. Now, there are going to be some retro games, and you're going to see that in a bit. I was actually kind of taken aback when I discovered them, so I'm going to save that little surprise for later. But in general, PAX is really about all of the new and upcoming games that are going to be coming out, and so it's really exciting to be here. Now, I believe Nintendo is here for the first time, so let's go check it out. Now, first stop, Nintendo. So the Nintendo booth was massive, and they were showing off the new Zelda game, completely playable if you wanted to wait in line. Previously, Nintendo was a separate event away from PAX, but this year it's included on the main floor, so your PAX ticket gets you access to Nintendo, and as you see here, it is incredibly popular. Lots of people excited to check out the latest Nintendo games. I'm going to walk down to Atari because I love Atari. I was surprised to see this game sitting at the Atari booth. I hadn't heard of this, and they had it where you could walk up and play this Fatal Run 2089. This is a reboot of a classic Atari 2600 game. I believe it was one actually of the last Atari 2600 games to come out, and kind of a forgotten franchise. And I have to say, this game actually looks pretty awesome. This is right up my alley. As you see here, it's a futuristic arcade racing and combat game. It's a big game too, so it's got 20 different levels across 4 different landscapes. It's all over the top action. Plus you can upgrade your vehicles. So yeah, I was having a fun time playing this. Atari merch. I am surprised to see Playdate here, and they've got a huge booth. Those videos have done extremely well for me, so let's go check it out. I was a little surprised to see a big Playdate presence here. I'm not entirely sure why, but I guess, I don't know, they just decided to come and show up in a big way. I love how they had this massive Playdate set up here with a backlit screen. That was always my big complaint with this device. Otherwise, it's really cool. And so, see, you can do it if you actually want to. But that said, actually, it was cool seeing a lot of people discovering this little handheld for the first time. There was a lot of smiles on people's face when they were just messing around with this. I turn a corner and Astrobot is here, which is really awesome, and it was playable. Kind of unusual because Sony didn't have a dedicated booth here. They really were just showing Astrobot. That is that's the game I'm most excited for to come out this fall.
Oh,
by
really?
far. Oh, yeah. I did see a game over here. I'm very curious to check it out. You'll understand if you see it. Check out this game called Desktop Explorer. I saw this from afar and I was like immediately drawn to this for obvious reasons. The game looks hilarious. So the deal here is that you inherit a 1990 style PC from your uncle, and then you start exploring the ancient desktop interface looking for clues left by him. So I guess this is a classic point-and-click adventure game, and I was told that it starts off kind of innocent, but then it gets more dark and sinister the deeper that you reveal some of his clues. Very curious to check this out. So yeah, this was a neat little find. This was another game that really caught my eye. It's called Section 13. So this is a roguelike twin-stick shooter that you can play either solo or with a group, and I think it looks pretty sweet. Although for this demo, they had it set up with just a mouse and keyboard. And yeah, I'm not too great with twin-stick shooters with just that, so I actually would have preferred to have a controller. Especially when it comes to twin-stick shooters, I definitely prefer that. But the game does look pretty good, and I'm sure it will have controller support when it ships. But yeah, anyways, I thought this was pretty cool. Here's another game I was curious to check out. It is Monster Jam Showdown. So this is a new racing game by the developer of Hot Wheels Unleashed. Do you remember that game? That was one of the biggest surprises of the last few years. So obviously this time you are in a monster truck, and they control completely different than obviously Hot Wheels. You know, in a monster truck you have these big wheels and you're bouncing around, and you kind of go a little bit slower. You have to be a little bit more, I don't know, I guess thoughtful in how you race. But I think it looks pretty good, and I played this one for a while. Another game I was very curious to check out is called Kimbot. Kimbot. I hope I'm saying that right. This is an action platforming game that feels very similar to Ratchet and Clank. And I guess this is programmed in Unreal Engine 5, which is why it looks so good. Now, I was able to walk up to this one, pick up that controller, and just instantly feel at home with this. So fans of Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, all those kind of, you know, early 2000 3D platforming games, I think are going to feel right at home here. Lots of really cool weapons, lots of platforming. I loved the puzzles. So yeah, this is going to be one I'm definitely looking out for. So much cool stuff. It's pretty awesome. Here's another one that I saw from afar and had to take a closer look. That is Ascent Rivals. So saw this and I was like, oh man, this looks like it was inspired by Star Wars Pod Racer on the Dreamcast. I love that game, and it definitely has that look. However, I did get to talk to the developer a little bit, and it turns out that while that game was definitely an inspiration, they also took inspiration from Twisted Metal because this has vehicle combat. So I thought that sounds pretty good to me. So again, another game I'm definitely looking out for. I also saw lots and lots of fighting games, and that's not a genre that I typically spend a lot of time in. So it's too bad that Reggie didn't come with me to this event, because I'm sure he would have loved to check some of these out. They were also doing big tournaments with fighting games. So yeah, there were definitely a lot of them here. So if that's your jam, there's a lot of games coming. Limited Run Games had a booth at the show and a specific release for PAX West. They had this anime-inspired cover variant for Contra Operation Galaga, and there was a massive line to get a copy of this. I'm not entirely sure how many they made, but it was being debuted here at PAX West, so I had to snag a copy. It looks so cool. A while back in a pickups video, I covered this really weird driving game called #Drive. And essentially that is a roguelike arcade racing game. And I was surprised to see that they are making a sequel to that called #Drive Rally. And so I got to spend some time with this game, I got to play it and also talk to the developer, and basically they are kind of revamping this game from the ground up. So this is going to be a through and through rally game, and because of that, it's not going to be roguelike. These are actually, you know, designed levels that you can learn and master, and also they're leaning more towards probably the simulation aspect of it. So this one now has physics. Also, the camera angle is also a little bit more kind of what you would expect in a rally game. And so I thought it was kind of interesting that they're taking what was essentially a simple mobile game and moving it into kind of more serious rally game. So if that seems up your jam, definitely take a look.
It's always so crazy at the Pink Gorilla booth.
Pink Gorilla Games always has a booth at PAX, and I always have to stop by even though I know they're going to be super busy, and this year was no exception. Actually, I tried to say hello to Kelsey, and literally she couldn't even look up. She was just so busy. She was signing books. She was running a cash register. They were doing a lot of business, which I'm so happy for. It's like, you know, every year people get really excited for checking out Pink Gorilla, and yeah, this was no exception. I was pleasantly surprised to see Digipen here. So if you're not familiar, Digipen is a technical college that was co-founded by Nintendo in the Seattle area to help students learn how to make video games. And so at their booth, they were showing off a bunch of games made by their students. I thought this was so cool. You know, so many people are curious at how to get into the video game industry. Well, here you go. Go to PAX, talk to Digipen people there. They will hook you up. They'll tell you how to get that education. So that's pretty awesome. At this point, we're getting pretty hungry, and so we had to go to one of our favorite places. It's literally a block from the convention center, and so many people don't know about it, and it's such a shame, and that's why I want to mention it in this video. It is Sushi Kudasai. I always like recommending this place because instead of standing in line, you can walk right up here and have a really tasty, fresh sushi lunch, and it's not very expensive. So if you ever come to Seattle and you're looking for a cheap lunch, just look up Sushi Kudasai. Highly recommended. I saw this model or cosplayer dressed as Lara Croft from Tomb Raider, and I was like, what's going on here? Is there a new Tomb Raider game? And I asked, and like, no, it's actually an escape room in Seattle. I was like, what? That's crazy. So I actually might have to check this out. That's pretty cool. Now, video games is just a part of PAX. Actually, a big section of it has always been tabletop and board games and card games and puzzles. And so I knew that recently the Seattle Convention Center had a big overhaul. They basically doubled the size. And so I started looking for it, and it turns out that there's really two buildings. There's the Arch, which is where we were with the video games, and then you go to the Summit building. That's the brand new building. I walked in there, and I was stunned. This is 5 floors of additional stuff that just comes with your ticket. It was overwhelming. I was like, oh my God, just going up this escalator to all 5 floors. It was absolutely massive. And so if you are into board games, card games, whatever kind of tabletop games, man, this is going to be your jam. It's amazing over here. I don't admittedly know hardly anything about this. You know, I've obviously heard of D&D and I've heard of Magic the Gathering, but walking through here, again, you just see a whole other world of stuff and things to buy and to jump into. It was very cool to see. A lot of people were here, very excited, not for video games, but actually for this side of the event. But that's not all, because I did mention that, you know, it's mostly new video games. Well, at the bottom level of this building, they have a console and retro games section set up where you could basically just go and borrow old video games and then play them on the actual hardware. So this was something that used to be, when I was there probably like 5 or 6 years ago, would be like in a small room off to the side. Now, as you see here, it covers this massive floor. Again, I was blown away by the scale and the size of this. They are not messing around here.
So that, guys, is PAX West 2024. I had a great time, saw a ton of really cool games. I'd love to know down in the comments which ones caught your eye, which ones are you looking forward to? Let me know down in the comments. As always, I want to thank you for watching my channel. Thank you for subscribing, and take care.